Part 30, chapter 20, verse 2 is where I'm going to continue from. But what we did was left them on the first day of the first of the week, and Mary and her sister went to the tombs, and they saw the rolling stone move away from the tombs. And here we have not enough text to say anything, but it's that they looked inside. Otherwise, they wouldn't have ran. They walked. I don't want 40-year-old women running. They walked fast to find the disciples, not just Peter, Simon Peter, and the other disciples, just to find the disciples. And let's see, don't need these words whom Jesus loved. And that he chose them all, so he didn't really love them. And Mary said to them, they have taken away my son's body. Even though the text here doesn't say all this, and you can see me adding, this is one of those verses where I am making it my own. But if we don't have these words in here, we don't really have a way of connecting these verses correctly together. So, anyways, and we do not know where they have taken his body. Okay, Peter went with other disciples to the tombs. This doesn't need to be said. As they looked inside, they saw his linen with a cloth. Whoops. Cloth wrappings. Wrappings, and they were laying on the tomb. The place where the body is laid is called a tomb. So they seen that sitting there. He did not go. I don't understand. What is the text? How is this? I'm just questioning whether how do they put this here? Did not go. This is verse 5. So, oh, he did not go in. This last word was in, but we don't know which one he laid him on. So I guess I can't really say that that's truthful. That as they looked inside, so they just yeah, because of the word saw is here, so it has to be they looked inside and saw the cloth wrappings laying on the tomb that they know that they laid him on. Okay. Therefore, they also came following him, entered the tomb, and held the land there. So actually, they came as a group, I would say, the way I have it written, so that's not needed anyway. The face cloth, well, it's actually it's being wrapped around the head. It's a little looser around the head, I would say. So if he needs to start breathing and breathe and move his head back and forth, if he awakes and that is truly dead. There's a video in the description below that talks about all that. But this is all just saying the same thing, that is, all the cloths that they'd wrapped him in were laid there. Or is it folded up? So, well, they weren't folded. I'm just thinking from the other one, I think it said it was folded up. For they forgot, not that they did not understand, they forgot. It's not the scriptures, it was what Jesus was saying. He will rise again from the dead. For Jesus said that. The scriptures didn't. The scriptures didn't. The scriptures at this time are the Hebrew text, okay? And there's not much of Jesus except for that he is coming and he's going to suffer, their king is going to suffer and die. So it was Jesus that said this, he will rise again. See, this was to their own home, but that's way up in by Lake Galilee. That's where he picked up all the disciples, so that's not true. Mary was alone outside the tombs weeping when she looked into the tomb. Okay, now we have her coming back, which, like I said, this stuff is just reading out of order. Anyways, and she saw two angels shining white. I added the word shining because an angel, when they're saying he's white, he's in the form of the angel in heaven. They didn't this one didn't transfigure into a man, a being with flesh, but he, and being what someone would say in their glory, the angel in their glory, being that they're white like our Creator. And remember, Jesus shone white as well when he transfigured. So I needed to add the word shining, and sitting one at the head and one at the foot where his body was laid. One asked her, Mary, why are you weeping? And she answered, because they have taken away my son's body, and I do not where they have taken it. And the word it here is respectfully used as how you would naturally say that. Not naturally, but the way you would commonly say, speak that way. After she spake, she turned around and saw her son. Now it's saying that she's seen Jesus, but the thing here is the story is so choppy because, but they're saying Jesus appeared here, and yet the other stories, this text is not going to be around in the next area, but it's cleaned up right now, so I can't say, I don't want you to think that it's truthful here when I'm editing the text, because I've kind of know what's coming up. And Jesus said to her, why, woman, you weeping whom you are seeking? She would know Jesus. I mean, he didn't transfigure that much that she would not recognize her own son. So let's get rid of that one. No, that has got to be gone. Jesus said, good day, mother, not good day, Mary. Okay. Said to her, Mary. It's his mother, so good day, mother. And she turned, and she's calling him rabbi. No, she's not calling him teacher. She'd be calling him by his first name. So that text out. Then Jesus told her to go to my disciples and tell them I have ascended to our Father and returned. Your Father and my this would have been my God and your God. This is being said wrong. We didn't create our Creator to put this our Father and mine being personally said mine or yours in front of the word God, the title God. That just is not properly said respectfully to our Creator. And Mary went to his disciples and said, I have seen my son, and what he had said to her. Not these things, but what he said to her. That's good, just adding the word what here and getting it, kind of moving it from here. But it just doesn't make any sense when you start thinking about the order of things here. But let me continue. Don't need these words. It was evening that day, the first day of the first of the week. The doors were closed. And the disciples. See, now this is like they're talking about their homes, but their homes aren't there, and they weren't staying in a place. Like I said before, when the tribes were supposed to gather as the lineage from each son from or designated 12 tribes by our Creator, and where they were to encamp around him by the order of the birth of the sons, that this is where they would be staying. So if they were from Galilee, which would be their Ezekiarns, Naphtali, these two areas, I believe, is where Jesus gathered most of the tribes, and you can see that these are the last three, and this one would be Joseph, and these would be on the north side, and I believe these three would be on the east side. So when you're camping around the city Jerusalem, I would believe that's how they would do it. Because I know that that's what they have to do, okay? But to sit here and say that they camped on this hill area and all around here, they might have camped on the other side here as well as here, because now that Jerusalem is a city, but the tribes were supposed to be around the tent for meeting with our Creator. Well, since the house is now there, they still have to do this living around that area. So they live up too far to say that the door was shut closed and the disciples were in fear of the tribe's priest. But let me see what they could say, that maybe the inn that Jesus told them to stay at for the eating of the meal, maybe that's where they were all staying at. And then it would have to be the door to their room. But there's 11 of them, mother, father, and they're saying her sister was with them. In their large room, and their door was shut. I'm just trying to place that as being correct. That's going to have to be edited later when I put it together, because if it does make it, it does need a lot of work here to be truthful, where they were at, and that text would have to be added. So the only place I'd put it is they were at the inn. So, because they were still supposed to celebrate for 8 days there. So very possibly they're at the end. It would make the most, it's the most reasonable place for where the disciples stayed, and most likely his mother and father. And that's why I have a hard time with his sister being with him. But anyways, Jesus suddenly appeared standing in their midst. He said, peace be with all you. Now this also, because the text is the first day of the first week, he's appearing to him, but I know the other stories, and he doesn't do this. Well, okay, let me continue complaining. I tell you, John is just so screwed up of, like, who would have wrote this stuff so disorganized? So you can tell that maybe John was made up from the leftover pieces of what they were trying, because I'm certainly uh, the evil priests and scribes and that who made these four books up. They didn't believe in Jesus when they did this, so it would have been they first put the text together correctly. These guys tore it up, but they were grabbing from other stories and probably many different accounts. And then, because if you think about it, who can document all this stuff in these personal moments that they have? Well, when he was gathering the tax collectors, those could read and write. The fishermen, not so much read and write. But the object is the taxmen would have been fluent in being able to write and record. So how many taxmen did we have with Jesus? I'm just going to guess 5, okay, of the 12. And now we can go back and break it down later, but there would be these 5 guys writing all the time, and they would all be keeping their own records. And this would be the accounting that they had, that the very text that they started with, as to keep it in order. Even though I know that Luke starts out saying that we also went around and gathered the accounts to put the story in order. I don't see that now as truthful in the text when we're reviewing it, and now that I'm pretty sure, that it was these 5 taxmen writing the stories, and they would have wrote them their own way, but they had like a likeness that they share and keep editing. So this story of Jesus appearing to him should have been in all of the texts, or at least them, unless Judas was a taxman, and now we're down to 4. But then he showed them his wrist and his left side, and I had to add left because I put in the word left because that's where the spleen is located. It's on the left side. And they rejoiced when they saw their king. I could have put the other title here, Savior, but King, because he's now been glorified by our Creator and given the kingdom in heaven. And Jesus told them, our Father has sent me back to you, sent me, has to be sent me. Yeah, I'm going to add the word back. Back to you. These words wouldn't be needed. They aren't taking away or really adding much to the story. Oh, okay. Now here, this text here is being taken out for one reason. Jesus defined what is Holy Spirit. So let me bring that up. And this is on this side of the text. Here we have Jesus defining that it's our Creator's breath or His words being put into your mind. These two verses show that His breath was put into them and they prophesied. You can't prophesy unless our Creator's with you, and Zacharias and Elizabeth aren't prophets. So they were filled with His words or His breath and they prophesied. Down here, Jesus says that these are His thoughts that will come to you, and then you will be speaking in that hour what to say. So these are the major definition for what is Holy Spirit as our Creator's breath. So He doesn't breathe on them and they receive the Holy Spirit. That's just not true. If you forgive sin of any, then Jesus now saying a disciple can forgive sin, and yet this is what makes Jesus our King, and we have to obey Jesus, because other than that, you can't have the 11 disciples deciding whether you go into heaven. That wouldn't be truthful to the other words Jesus has taught us. And if you retain sins, then retain, well, you can't. The writer here doesn't understand what sins are. Thomas, one of the 12, well, now there's only 11 of them, so the correct word is 11. And here they're trying to say Jesus called him this name, but we know him as Thomas, so we know that these words are added later by someone, was not with them when Jesus appeared. So when the disciples told him, "We have seen our King," and he replied, "Unless I see his wrist and the imprint of the nails," the wrist with the imprints of the nails. I don't know if I've said that, maybe I've said this in other places, but they've proven that if it was a nail in the center of the hand, that the skin would just rip up and come out. So to trap his hands to stay on the cross, that has to be down here, and there's a wrist, there's going to be a hole here that a nail can be driven through to keep his truly be crucified to the cross. So that's why the word wrists with the imprints of the nails, one on each wrist, and touch his left side, I will not believe you. Now, days later, his disciples were inside a room with Thomas. And I'm going to have to put the room, not a room, but the room. So they're still at the celebration because they had 8 days later, but to be at the celebration, it has to be days later, within this 8 days, 7-day area. And Jesus appeared to them again. This is odd that he's appearing and then reappearing. That isn't how the text is. I guess I'm going to explain that when I wrap up I'm going to show you how the words point out that he met them around by Lake Galilee, or those tribal lands, or the tribe's lands. And he was up there walking around and showing that he did not die, or that he has returned. And the news wouldn't have traveled too fast from Jerusalem until they started returning home, or maybe messengers went up there and then did tell them, everybody at Lake Galilee. So when Jesus, by the time they would have sent people up there, Jesus was up there showing himself, and he said, "Yes, but I'm here." Now we have no text to say that, but it is going to point that they were on their way back to Lake Galilee when they did really truly meet Jesus. So, but to have this ending right here with Jesus popping in and out, and he's at Jerusalem, um, I think the story is going to be revealed that he is up by Lake Galilee, and he is walking and talking to the people up there because they knew him. So um, I would sure love to see those truthful words of Jesus up there at that time, instead of trying to make up my own, because I'm really pointing. It's really pointing to that he was up there, um, and not in Jerusalem celebrating the Passover. Um, then he said to Thomas, "See my wrists and touch my left side, and do not be an unbeliever, bro." And I'm just moving the word "be" over to here, an unbeliever. And that means that he uh, returned to the earth. So that's the unbelieving part here, to be believed. Thomas, then Thomas said, "You are my Lord and my King." Um, Jesus told us. See, now this is where I'm actually telling you who the writers were, the disciples, or the 11 left. And he told us, "Because you have seen me, you believe. Blessed are they that did not see me and believe in me." Not believed in me, but believed in me. Many other signs, therefore Jesus also. Okay, many other signs, therefore Jesus. It's like, get rid of this, and the sun should have started. Therefore Jesus also performed in the presence of the disciples, which is not written in this book. Wow. This is the text that I should be using here. So I'm going to work on that right now, because I've been complaining that he's so all this goes this. Okay. Then it has to be, as this sentence has to be the part that I'm talking about, that he's with them in Galilee. And he's also performed in the presence. So he also healed. This has to be healed. Healed again. And and that would be getting rid of those two. So these I'm adding because he didn't perform. And this doesn't need also. That there's many other healings, but therefore, I thought I'm going to say, then Jesus healed again in the presence of his his disciples. And it would have to be, and we did not write them down. Because it's saying this book, like as if the four existed, but that isn't how. And the recordings that they're doing, each of them would have their own, say, four of these recordings. In the presence of the disciples, and were not written and these were not written. Yeah, I'm going to have to put it. And these, referring to healings, were not written. So this here is being added. This is read. This is not true. Were not written. And I'm going to say that that little squiggly line was the word and. These were not written. And these were not wrote down. And these were not written. I'm going to say by us. Like this. Well, this here, I need that here. It has to be verse 30. And then below here, I need this text. Okay. Because Jesus had to be doing something up there, up there in Galilee for those days. So, Jesus healed again. So this is red. These were not written down by us. That verse that I'm putting in here is going to be very important in the final text. That's going to be major, because I don't hear anybody teaching what Jesus did up in Galilee when we have him giving them their last instructions. He's telling them what's going to happen to the end of the world. We have the words about the helper. We got words about what's going to happen to them. But how long was he there? This is going to say that Jesus, before he ascended, met with them, started healing again, and giving them the confidence that he is, and maybe even helped them edit the books now that they wrote when they went over and looked at them over again. So there's a lot of things that Jesus could have done because this one verse is being edited, and you've seen me how I did it. Because the verse is many other signs, therefore Jesus also performed. It's not reading like it's supposed to, and it's not really well grouped to the verse above it. It's like many other verses that I'm complaining about. They're just stuck there. So this one's stuck there, but this one's going to be a very important one, because what did Jesus do when he didn't perform? He was healing them again because people were seeking him out again. And now he was able to tell them, I am your king, and I will, mine will see me in heaven. I can see Jesus saying many things about his teaching a little bit different, that he has now um, ascended into heaven and then returned. So that verse is going to be very important, as well as Jesus telling him he is being sent back to him. But I got to watch that when I get there to put all those together. Okay. Well, let me, because it's the 36, I might be stopping here, because if I start editing this, well, it seems like it's only this verse because there's a lot of words going to be taken out. So let me get to this. Maybe this is the end of the, oh yeah, I thought there was like going to be another 70 verses in this chapter. I'm going to finish this here. These words have been written that everyone believes Jesus is his Christ. And you understand why I'm putting the word his Christ in. If not, go back in the videos. And he is our son from YV, meaning our son from YV, like he's one of them, born by the descendant from David and Mary, which would be Joseph and Mary. Their son became the one that was talked about as our son from YV, because you have to understand what's written in the Hebrew side. And whoever believes in him will live, not have life, will live with him in heaven. This is what Jesus was teaching. So, because like I said before, you're going to always live, or you're always going to exist. Now, see here, he's appearing to them again, but this is pretty much the ending here. I mean, this reads like an ending. Cana of Galilee, but they're referring to Galilee as a region, and I've replaced Galilee with the word Israel as meaning the region that the governor ruled over. Now, this is kind of a weird story that they were out fishing in Galilee. See here, the text is that he's telling them, and he's going to be telling them, and he's walking with them. And now we know that this other text that from what I've already done above about the helper, and then he ascends there. So you can see that this is all just untruthful. I'm going fishing, they said, and come out when got into the boat. At night they caught nothing. When the day was breaking, Jesus stood on the beach, yet the disciples did not know it was Jesus. Now this is idiots being, if you believe that text, you're just not thinking and not obeying our Creator enough. Our Creator is keeping you stupid if you believe that sentence, because if you're obeying our Creator, he would reveal that that sentence is not truthful at all. Then they had a great number of fish. Like, all this story is talking about how much fish they got, but that isn't needed to know. This is they were fishermen. They're supposed to be stripped down to their waist, and now they're embarrassed in front of Jesus. Like, what? But that's the way they were seen walking home from work. I mean, Let's not get carried away of, well, they did, the writer of that. Now they're talking about this fish, how they caught it, and people, how they drew up, oh, they even counted the fish. Now we even know. But the big thing is all this is not true. Now he's going to be manifested another time, but he's already done a couple times in Jerusalem and again. So this number is wrong. You don't tend by lambs. He sent them to teach in foreign and in the areas outside of Israel, where the promised land is, we know it, is where he sent them. So he couldn't stick around here. So that's just not truthful. He's not truthful. Now they're at eating and going to rust against Jesus. I don't think so. That they weren't lovey-dovey. These guys were males knowing that you don't have any acts of gayism, okay? And what I call that's what faggots, okay? No faggot tendencies. So this is just stupid. Yeah, I don't see anything here that what I've kind of that ties together for an ending. There are also many things which Jesus did teach that are not written. Well, that is just common sense. So, but the object is maybe does that sentence go with these words? Or were not written by us? And we already have those words. So all this text is going to be done with, and I've kind of completed John, which I thought I was going to have another couple of videos to go. That being said, I know I'm running over the 40 minutes, but I'm just glancing over. I just hope that you guys all realize that I don't think I really need to go over this stuff because it's pretty obvious once you know the truths that I've revealed in the other 4 books. And we still need no count of fish. They would have recognized Jesus like they did recognize him. So 21 is just completely false. Well, now comes the good part as far as I'm concerned, that I'm going to put all of John together and break it down into stories and edit it, and then come back and do the verses. And I don't think I'm going to put them in order or try to put them in order. This is just way too ridiculous to try that in John. Some is just going to be obvious. But what you're going to be also watching is the videos how I start with Luke and I added Matthew already to it. And Mark is being added to it at the time that you're seeing this video. So some of this stuff I'm doing because I couldn't talk, do videos. I was doing other things here. Not a lot, but I was doing some. And the thing here is the stories are going to get next to each other and then edited as a group. And you'll see that as it gets closer and closer to becoming one long story. But there will be much that needs to be edited out of the text.